Hello Stampers, thanks for joining me today. This is Michelle Zindorf and I have a pretty little textured card for you today. This card has so much texture going on between an embossing folder and then we heat emboss the leaf and it turns out really pretty. I just love this, and I just decided to take a little break from the scenery type thing today and just do a textured card to show you just how fun they are. So we have this going today, and we're going to be using the Artistic Leaves stamp set. Really pretty stamp set. This is an online exclusive, and I will have the link for it in the description of this video, along with all of the sizes for the panels and such down below, and the links to all the products, in fact, down below, so you can shop with me 24/7. So we've got that going, and we're going to start with this background panel, our textured panel. And I'm going to start, I know I usually start with basic white, but boy, we're going with Pecan Pie today. I just love this color, and we're going to put some color on top of it. We're going to use our stamp set. So I'm going to start out with this more, there's two stamps that go with this, and one fills in the color for the other. So like this main leaf here, can you see the dark color and then the lighter color? The lighter color is what you're going to get with this stamp here. This is the more detailed stamp. It has the ribbing and such in it. You can't tell it in that because I've heat embossed and kind of smushed it all together. But then we're going to go with this on top of it. So we're going to start out with a more detailed stamp, and we're going to start out with Crushed Curry. Now this is going to be a kind of a weird color on top of this Pecan Pie, but I like the way it turned out. In person, you get this kind of yellow tint on the leafy part of the background. So we're going to stamp this kind of all over our little Pecan Pie panel here. And our panel is 3 3/4 by 5. Now see how it doesn't really look yellow, but once it dries and everything, it does have a yellow tint to it. Okay, so let's put some up here. And I'm kind of taking my stamp and moving it different directions as I'm stamping it on the panel. So it's just not the same image over and over and over in the same direction. I don't want it to look like little soldiers standing up there. And I think 4 will be good. I'm just going to add a little bit here. I always like to leave it like a little corner that doesn't have anything. This kind of reminded me like of a sidewalk that has old leaves on it. And then you get this brand new leaf that falls from a tree down. And that's kind of what I was envisioning when I created this card. Okay, so that was Crushed Curry. We're going to go to Cajun Craze next. And our other stamp here. This will be our darker color in our leaf. When you line it up, I try to line up these two little leaves here next to the stem and the point at the top. Now, if you don't get this exactly, it's not a big deal. So there's that. And now I'm going to stamp this one more time because I want this to be a really prominent color in our background. Like I said, it doesn't matter that much if you line it up exactly or not. We don't sweat the small stuff, right? Because this is our background. Okay. I love in stamping that if you find that you want your color a little deeper than what comes out the first time you stamp it, you can overstamp it, especially with these clear stamps. So there's that. We're just going to keep on doing this. We're going to stamp this twice on each of these images. There we go. Look how pretty that is, even before it's embossed. I love this image. And it has a little leaf too that you can do the same thing with. This is the color that fills in this part here. Really pretty. All right, let's get this last leaf done here. All right. We'll stamp it again. There we go. We got those on. I love the way that looks. It makes me happy. Okay. So next I'm going to put some color in the background here. And I'm going to continue on with this Cajun Craze and put some in the background. I have a blending brush for this. And I'm just going to lightly add some here and there. I'm kind of using the tip of my brush and making some spots of this color. We want kind of a molted looking background. And see how it's so different than when you stamp it. You stamp it, you get much darker color. So that was the Cajun Craze. Let's add some early espresso. Especially, I'm going to hit all these edges going around. I love those dark edges. When you get those dark edges, it draws the viewer's eye into the center. Like spotlights that inside of your panel there. Okay, I think that's pretty too, just like that. But we're going to take it a step further. We are going to emboss this panel. And this is my favorite embossing folder right now, the plaster painting 3D embossing folder. My lands, you get so much texture with this. And when I put my panel in here, I'm going to put it face up towards the Stampin' Up logo. Just like that. Now I'm going to run it through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back, and here's the reveal. This is what it looks like all embossed. I hope you can see all that texture in this. It's super pretty when you do that. It gives all those leaves like the crackly feel. Super pretty. Again, that was the Plaster Painting 3D Embossing folder. Okay, so we have the background panel. It's all done. And see how that yellow kind of stands out there? I love that. And it when you first stamp it, it looks more brown, but it takes on that yellow hue. All right, so we need our focal point here. We're going to stamp our leaf on just a scrap of Pecan Pie cardstock. And I'm going to use those same colors. So I'm going to stamp the first detailed image in this crushed curry. There we go. And I think I'm going to stamp it twice. See if we can't get a bunch of that color. There we go. And don't worry if you have, multiple images showing here, because we're going to cut this out and you can, trim it to where you don't have multiple images. Okay, so that was crushed curry. We are going to go to Cajun Craze next here. And our fill-in stamp, our dark one. Again, I'm going to double stamp this as well. You could do this in so many different colors. Okay, so we have that. And now I'm just going to cut this out. I'm just going to fussy cut. And I'm going to go right up against that stem there on both sides. I find that's the easiest way to cut a stem out, and then clip the bottom. There's our stem all cut out. And I'm just going to go around this. And this is when you can sharpen your image and take off any part that you don't like. And I'm going to go down between these leaves just a bit. And if any of you know what type of leaf this is, I would love to know. It's definitely not a maple leaf. I'm in Ohio and I know all about maple leaves. We have to clean up loads of those every year. Okay. Let's go this way and get that one. I love these little points on these leaves. Again, I'm taking just a little bit off of each leaf just so that I have a little gap in between the little points to this. I think that's very pretty that way. All right. And I think this leaf is pretty without embossing it, but we're going to heat emboss it, and that really just makes it so beautiful. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit off of this leaf here just so we have a bigger gap in between those. Maybe a little off of this one. There we go. I think that's really pretty. And now it's time for heat embossing. So I'm just going to take my Versamark pad here, get all these little pieces of paper up, and I'm just going to tap this all over my image here, my leaf. And that gives that some clear embossing powder, something to stick to. So I'm going to bring in my little tub of clear embossing powder. I'm about to order some, I think. So I'm just going to shake this in here, but you can sprinkle it on, have this on a piece of paper and sprinkle it on. Let's see, got a little bare spot there. Let's see if we can pick that up. There we go. Now we have that, and I'm going to hold this stem down with a pair of scissors as I use my heat tool here. So I'm going to heat my heat tool up, and I'm going to emboss this just until it turns shiny. I think heat embossing is just so fun. It's always been like one of my #1 things to do. I think this is what got me into stamping in the first place. It was the first time I seen heat embossing. I was just amazed. Okay, so we got our leaf here. Now, if you find that you have bare spots where it didn't get shiny, I have a few bare spots. I'm not going to worry about it, but this leaf, when you emboss it, it looks like leather. It's just really, really pretty in those colors. And that is what we're going to use on the top here. So we got our focal point done. And I think we're about ready to put it together. I'm going to do some stamping on the inside here. This is our inside panel. This is Pecan Pie, and it's 4 by 5 1/4. And I'm going to use my crushed curry for this. And I'm going to use, it says Celebrate Today. This is a sentiment right out of that Artistic Leaves stamp set. There we go, Celebrate Today. Okay, so we have that done. And we have this little dotted stamp here, and I'm going to use this on our background here. I just want a little bit of that splatter look, and I'm going to use the Early Espresso for this so it really stands out. You could do this part before you emboss your panel too, but it doesn't matter. There, we got a few spots. I kind of keep them down this way, but you can put them all over. You do you. Okay, so that was Early Espresso. And I think I'm going to go around the edges one more time with this Early Espresso. Now that we got it embossed, it'll just hit those peaks really well and get really dark on those peaks of the paper where it's so textured. Isn't that pretty? Just looks like maybe the edges were even burnt and it has that look to it. Okay, so we have that done. And see how that yellow really shows up? It doesn't at first, but then as it dries, it just totally changes color. So great. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this paper here. Start putting things together. So I got my main panel here, and I have some strips of Pecan Pie. I have 4 of them, and they are 1/4 by 2.5 inch strips. And this is what we're going to do this little part here with. Just a little design with our cardstock. I'm going to use my multi-purpose glue for this. You could use your tape runner, whatever you prefer. And I'm going to add some of that and add it up here at the top. Give it a look, see if I got it straight. Okay, and then I'm going to use another one. Now this is going to cross that top one and come down the side. And then we'll take a look at that and see if it's straight. I think that looks good. And then I'm going to turn this over, and I'm just going to rub the back so that my glue comes in contact with that textured panel. Then I'm going to do the same thing here at the bottom. I'm going to add a strip going along the bottom. Give it a look. There we are. Then add a strip going up the side. This would be pretty if you wanted to break out your gold paper. You know, that gold paper that we always hoard. Don't like to use because it's so beautiful. Those little strips would be pretty in gold too, I think. Okay, so we have that. Now I'm going to add my leaf here. I'm just going to glue it on. This is a chance for you to pop something up too if you wanted to pop up your leaf. I am just going to adhere mine with glue. Give me a little bit of a flatter card. And I'm going to point that stem right at that corner. There we go. Now let's turn this over and give everything a good rub, just to have contact with that embossed panel again. So there is our pretty leaf. Doesn't show up as well on camera as it does in real life, which is sad, because I really want you to see all the texture and the shine. All right, so we're going to put this panel on the front of our card base, and our card base is 5.5 by 8.5 and folded in half to create our quarter card. This is going to get centered up here on the front of this early Espresso card base. Okay, I'm going to line it up, turn it over, give a little rub, and there is our front of our card all done. I think that's so pretty. So then we just need to attach our panel to the inside of our card. And then we're going to add some love there. Here we go. There's the inside of our card. That could certainly be a birthday card. You could change the sentiment on the inside. There's some really pretty sentiments going on in this card. It says, "Hello, sweet friend, grateful for you," and then the "celebrate today." But there is our finished card. Here's the original. Thanks for joining me today. Hope you enjoyed this project and that you give it a try. Take care. Toodles!